Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, April 10th, 2025 at 9 in the morning. This is a joint hearing between the House Commerce and Economic Development Committee and the Senate Economic, General and Housing Committee. Want to welcome everyone here this morning. Thank you for coming to another tourism day in the Capitol. We're happy to have you. We're glad to see such a large and robust crowd today. It's a little different atmosphere that we have this year than we've had in previous years, because I think some of the issues that I think we're going to face because of the rhetoric that's going on in Washington, and I think the disrespectful language that has happened, that's been pointed to our neighbors to the north. And we'll be hearing from some of our friends from Quebec, as well as our businesses here as well. So again, we thank you for joining us this morning.
So in that tone, bonjour, bienvenue. It is wonderful to have you all here, our Canadian partners in our economy. And we look forward to hearing from you. And we as Economic Development Committees so appreciate our partnership with the Chamber and with all of you in helping keep tourism a robust piece of our economy. We treasure and appreciate it so fully. And so actually showing you how much we appreciate it. This is 2 hours of our 3-hour time together in the Senate. So we are really grateful to you all coming and reminding us once again how important this sector is to our economy, and particularly our Canadian friends and travelers who come and support that economy. So should we begin by introducing ourselves? So I'm Allison Clarkson. I'm Chair of Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. And we have we're going to start introducing ourselves, I guess, on this way. Yes.
Okay, I'm Senator Randy Brock. I represent Franklin County and northern part of Grand Isle County, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Senate Economic Development.
And I'm one of the 3 senators for Windsor District. And I know we have a lot of Windsor people here today, which is great.
Everybody, I'm Tom Chittenden. I represent the southeast quadrants of Chittenden County.
Good morning, everybody. Senator David Weeks, representing Rutland County.
Well, I'm Jonathan Cooper, Representative Jonathan Cooper, Bennington 1, the southwestern corner of the state, Pownell, Woodford, Reedsboro, Searsburg, and Stafford.
Representative Herb Olson, representing Bristol, Lincoln, Moncton, and Starksville in Addison County.
Representative Dave Bosch from Clarendon, representing Wallingford, Clarendon, West Rutland, the bulk of Rutland Town.
Representative Michael Newton, I represent Berry City.
Representative Emily Karras Duncan, I represent Wilmington, Whitingham, and Halifax. Representative Monique Priestley, Bradford, Fairleigh, West Fairleigh.
Representative Tony Nicholas, representing most of Milton and a little bit of Georgia.
I'm Abby Duke. I represent part of Burlington.
I'm Representative Kirk White. I represent Bethel, Rochester, Stockbridge, Hancock, and I'm the ranking member of the committee.
Hi, Edie Branning, representing Jericho and Underhill, and the Vice Chair of the committee.
And I'm Mike Marquardt, State Representative from Coventry. I represent Coventry, Irisburg, Newport Town, Troy, J. Westfield, Lowell, and Eden. And I chair House Commerce and Economic Development. And as you can see, the state is well represented on both of these committees, from top to bottom, from north to south, east to west, and right in the middle as well. So I think we have a good representation of everyone that's here. And we look forward to working with you, but most of all, we look forward to hearing what you all have to tell us. So Commissioner Pelham, if you would like to start, and Amy, are you as well?
Together.
Sounds good. So we'll have Amy, Commissioner Pelham and Amy Spear from the Vermont Chamber.
I think it will be efficient so that the industry that's here today can have more time to speak to all of you. For the record, my name is Amy Spear. I'm the president of the Vermont Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to sit for a moment and say thank you to both of the committees for your time and attention listening today and your thoughtful questions. And I also want to acknowledge and thank everyone from the tourism and hospitality industry that is in the room today. This is a representation of the fabric of our communities, the experiences that draw people in to visit. They choose Vermont as their place to live, work, and play. I also want to thank Representative Duke for being the champion of Tourism Economy Day this year. And with that, I will pass it to
Commissioner Pelham. Great. Thank you, Amy. Good morning, everybody. Really thank all of the esteemed members of both committees here before us for your time and attention this morning. For the record, my name is Heather Pelham. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Tourism and Marketing for the state of Vermont. I have had the pleasure to serve in this role for the past 5.5 years. And in this time, this industry and the partners we have today have shown just how resilient, dedicated, and passionate we all are to seeing Vermont thrive and inviting the world to be part of that experience. The last year at this time, we were reflecting on the total solar eclipse experience we were lucky enough to witness and the 175,000 people who came to Vermont to experience it with us. But we've also been through the darkest days of the pandemic together and worked together to help our communities recover from 2 summers of devastating flooding. Today, there's a new threat we must face together amid the global trade war unfolding around us and the destabilizing rhetoric that threatens our closest friends and neighbors. You will hear more about this morning from our tourism leaders gathered here today on the economic pain and uncertainty Vermont businesses, organizations, and communities are facing. At the same time, if there was ever a moment for us to collectively lean into the brand values that we all cherish, inclusion for all, the freedom to take life at your own pace, the warmth of community, to truly live up to our motto of freedom and unity, now is that time. Travel has the unique power to bring people together, to share a meal together, to spend time in the outdoors together, time with friends and family, period. To appreciate each other as the warm, genuine human beings that we each are. And if there was ever a time to share that the Vermont that we know and love, now is that time. We have shared the numbers. Tourism is a huge economic engine for Vermont, employing over 30,000 Vermonters all over the state and bringing in $4 million in visitor spending in 2023. And that doesn't just happen on its own. We look forward to your continuing support, for listening to all those who are here today, and for being champions of our visitor economy. Now, I know that there are some other specific issues on people's minds. I'm happy to address those in terms of the fact that, number one, visitation from Canada is 5% of our annual visitation numbers. We usually see about 750,000 Canadians come, and they spend $150 million. Now, I would say that 5% dilutes the impact quite a bit in the terms of that, it's really very much focused on our northern communities where, and again, you'll hear more about this today, but visitation from Canada can be 30% or higher. So this is a very real threat. And again, I will let the advocates here tell you more about that in their own words. But it's something that we are taking very seriously. We will stay in the Canadian market. There's no doubt about that. Quebec, all of Ontario is a huge market for us. It's very important that we as the Department of Tourism stay true to our values. We have not changed. We will continue to share that with the world. And then I just also wanted to mention that, as folks are aware, we are the recipient of federal funding. We are about halfway spent down on our $10 million award that we received from EDA. The reason for that primarily is that we are on a reimbursement basis. So even though we have fully committed all of those funds and we are very much in somewhat of the final steps of that project, the next 6 to 9 months, we can only bill the federal government when we actually have paid those bills. So there is about $5 million that is at risk should anything change. So far, we have not had any word that there is any threat to our EDA grant. However, I will say that we just in the past 2 weeks have received some questions about some of our sub-grants to some of our recipients throughout the community. Again, we have not heard that those funds are in doubt, but we also our last few payments have been delayed. We've heard that's due to staffing, but we will feel much better, number one, when those bills are paid, and number two, if we do not hear more. I would love to say no news is good news these days with the federal government, but that is a real concern for us.
Heather, are you thinking about putting a hold on what we use the remainder of that $5 million for until we have more assurances of what the federal government's doing?
If we had more time on our grants, I might be more apt to do that, but we need to spend it by this fall. So I really don't want to let off, besides the fact that really most of that money is already committed. You know, we're in the midst of our strategic planning work. We're in the midst of all sorts of different visitation and brand studies. I would hate to stop that work right now. Certainly, were that funding pulled away, we would be facing a hole that, for better or worse, we would be coming back to you to discuss. But at the moment, we feel like it's too important for us to continue this work. It's too important to us to make sure that we continue to have visitors coming to the state as a one small part of any potential mitigation to the greater issues that we're also here to talk about today.
Question? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next witness that we're going to hear from is Nina from the Lakeshide Plain Chain. Nina, welcome. Hi. Introduce yourself. Great to have you.
Hi, I'm Nina Ridabino. I'm the Director of Programs and Strategy at the Echo Lake Center for Lake Champlain in Burlington. We're a science and nature museum, and I've been there for 13 years. Now, let's see, how do I just go forward? Okay. So I'm here today sort of talking about the larger museum and attraction segment of the Vermont tourism economy. And one of the main messages of my first part of my presentation is to talk about how a diverse tourism economy is really a resilient tourism economy. So when you think of Vermont, you probably think of outdoor recreation first, but our museums and attractions, which are really world-class, are an important part of that mix. And what really allows sort of those multi-day itineraries that people are looking for and top things to do when they come to an area. So 2/3 of leisure travelers visit a museum or attraction when they're traveling, and those people spend more money, which is what we want. Okay. Another strength of investing in our museums and attractions here in Vermont is that we're open rain or shine, and many of us are open 365 days per year. You don't have to plan ahead to go to a museum. You can go whenever it suits you. And that's really important, especially as our climate changes. So we're seeing increased winter precipitation, which is becoming more rain and less snow. And museums and attractions often operate during these shoulder seasons. So I was recently working on the museum floor at Echo. We know this is sort of our transition season. We had 2 adult guests who were, spent about 3 or 4 hours in the museum, and they asked me, like, what else could they do? It was a Monday. And I was like, oh man, that is a tough question to answer in April on a Monday in Vermont. And so what can Steakhouse. Go to steakhouse. So how can we have more answer to that question of what to do on a Monday, April in Vermont? So museums also have broad appeal. So this is just a quote that we see a lot of these comments about Echo from our guests. We had a wonderful experience visiting Echo. We are from the DC area, so I consider ourselves museum snobs. And this is one of the funnest, most hands-on museums we've ever been to. And I would say this is not just true about Echo. We have amazing museums here in Vermont. They are truly world-class and are huge amenities to people who come here. And I think a lot of people are surprised that this is not the top reason they come here, but they put it into the mix, and it's something that they really remember about their experience here in Vermont. Okay. So now we get to the fun economic pain part that we opened with. So like everyone else, museums are experiencing a diversity of increasing economic pressures. A lot of museums are nonprofits, and we're supported by a mix of earned and contributed money. As you might imagine, that includes federal money. And it's really those tourist dollars that support our local access programs and outreach work. And that's truly really important to us. So it's interesting to hear. We knew that at Echo, we get about 5% Canadian tourists, so that seems to track with the rest of the state. And about 1/3 are out-of-state visitors. Echo is in process of, we really want to embrace our Canadian visitors. And so as we renovate, we've been trying to become dual language, and we've been translating all our exhibits into French as well. And that's something we continue want to lean into to be really welcoming to our northern neighbors. Museums are already seeing signs of recession. So New England Museum saw an average of 50% decrease in attendance in February, according to New England Museum Association. So, you know, that's obviously not just our northern neighbors, that is people becoming uncomfortable with the economic conditions generally. So consumer confidence is at a 12-year low right now. And, you know, these are optional dollars that they're spending.
And sorry, just where do you get that data from, that we're at a 12-year low?
We're at a 12-year low. So there's a place called Know Your Own Bone that does like studies of museums and attractions and things that affect them. And that was one of the economic indicators that they quoted. And it was part of an overall study of people's intentions to visit museums in the next 6 to 12 months, which is down about 4 or 5 points. So people are saying, you know, would you visit a museum in the next 6 months? That's down from last year and 2 years ago. So people are already making some of those decisions about their intention to visit. Cuts to federal funding. There's a lot of news, so I'm sure it's hard to track all of this, but the Institute Museum of Library Services, which supports museums and libraries, all their staff have been laid off. In the last 10 years, they contributed $3 million to Vermont museums through competitive grants. I know we have or had 2 grants. We received cancellation notice on one of them. They're very organized, and haven't been reimbursed for our March expenses before those were canceled. So that's current money, but that's future money. And a lot of museums, that's the money that they use to really support a lot of the development of new exhibits that really support the attractions. And I know Vermont Historical also just lost a grant through that. And similar cuts are taking place at the National Endowment for Humanities and other places that support this kind of work. Okay, and increased expenses due to tariffs, higher construction costs, attractions, museums, we have high facility maintenance costs, high renovation costs, and record high costs to running egg drop engineering challenges. It's really hurting us. So we'll end on a positive note. So museums really offer iconic experiences that build the Vermont brand. Let's all go back to the eclipse a year ago. It was a wonderful moment for humanity. So museums help populate our state event calendar, which is something that people look at when they're thinking about what are they going to do when they come to a place. Echo really leaned into the eclipse. We hosted ABC National News, which was filming on our terrace. There were thousands of people on the waterfront. You can look at that picture right there. It was a beautiful day. Everyone was so nice. I was so worried we wouldn't have enough food and that everyone was going to be hangry, but everyone was so nice. And then specifically at Echo, we really like to tell the story of Vermont in our exhibits. And I know a lot of museums here not only offer sort of fun, hands-on family experiences, but they're really building the Vermont brand too. So Echo is in the middle of a renovation of our largest gallery, our Interlake Gallery. Our 8,000-gallon tank is becoming a 15,000-gallon tank, and that's going to host our largest native species in Vermont, and that's going to open in July, and we're really excited about that. And then opening in the fall, we're really leading into the Champ story. So there was a time when Champ was more famous than the Loch Ness Monster, and we really want to take that back. And so it has high interest. I just did an interview with Scholastic Magazine because they were interested in Champ. And so they're going to have a picture of our 30-foot life-size Champ sculpture that we just put in the museum last fall. And that's going to circulate to 600,000 kids in the Scholastic Magazine. So we're really excited about that and really embracing that story as a visitor draw and really promoting Vermont and the quirky, fun things that we have here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Questions?
I'm just curious, the tank isn't big enough for Champ if we ever find it.
Okay.
Second is, there are so many different visions of Champ. I'm interested you landed on one.
I know. Well, you actually passed legislation, or not legislation, but I don't know, a statement protecting Champ. So should someone find Champ, we cannot put them in Echo. Champ needs to stay.
That's just
Yes, visions of Champ have changed greatly. In the late 1800s, people largely described Champ as having silver scintillating scales and red eyes and was much more serpentine. So that will be part of the exhibit, is kind of investigating how Champ has changed over time. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Randy?
Randy,
Thanks for having me, and thanks to Anna Grace, who allowed me to share my screen here. Let's see if I can. That my why am I not seeing the share part of it? Oh, I'm sorry, because I'm technologically disabled.
Replace current.
Okay. And then go down here. Thank you very much. From Red Hen Baking Company, my wife Liza Kane and I started Red Hen 25 years ago. And when we started, we were a wholesale bakery, delivering bread throughout the state. And you may know us for that. But then we, in 2007, in the fall of 2007, we moved to our current location in Middlesex. And soon after that, we opened our cafe, which has blossomed into more than we could have imagined. It's a community gathering space. I like to call Middlesex Greater Montpelier sometimes, because we get a lot of Montpelier people coming down and visiting. And the core of our business is locals, and we're really thankful for that, providing year-round consistent business for us. But the fact of the matter is, in our business, we're just getting towards, thankfully, the end at this time of year of our slower season. And it's the first 4 months of the year are months that, try as we might, we can never actually be in the black in each of those months. And when it starts to turn the corner is in May, and when it really, it's usually late August by the time we've actually gotten in the black for the year. And then we hope that we can maintain that for the rest of the year. And of course, the difference, as we all know, has to do with tourism. It's about, we're about 25% visitor across all parts of our business, but our cafe certainly gets a whole lot busier at that time. So it's really critical to us. We offer a variety of things. Breakfast and lunch primarily is, I think, what people come in for. Obviously, that involves pastries and bread, coffee, of course. We're a meeting spot. We're at a crossroads between, we're easily accessible from 89. We're on the way to the Mad River Valley. So visitors who are headed there have gotten in the habit of stopping by. And the experience that we offer is that it's see things being made. You know, our excitement with being able, it's an opportunity for us to show what we're excited about and seeing food being made. And all the, it's also a chance to educate people about the relationships we've built over the years with local farmers. And I like to expand that out into regional farmers. Today we use 275 tons of grain. Virtually every bit of grain that we use in our breads and pastries comes from 3 different regional sources. One of them is in Vermont. Joe Hescock is pictured there. Another one is in upstate New York. And then, of course, getting back to the Canadian connection, our good farmer friends at Le Ferme Longpré, which is in Lacède, Quebec, just about 30 miles west of Montreal. And they started a mill about 10 years ago, and we're their biggest customer. They mill flour from the grain that they grow there. So this is actually incredibly critical to us. So you can imagine I've been trying to keep up with what's going on an hourly basis with the potential for big increases in what we'll be paying for that important ingredient. But it's such a really integral partnership to our business that the tariffs that may or may not be imposed we're not going to let those get in the way of that, even though it will require us to raise prices. We also, we continue this local connection even in some of our equipment. The wheat that comes from the farm that was pictured in Vermont, the Vermont farm, Joe Hescock's Elysian Fields farm, all gets milled on a stone mill that's made about 30 miles north of here at New American Stone Mills in Morrisville. And our friend Andrew has started a mill business that grew out of their bakery business, which is Elmore Mountain Bread. And it uses berry granite and makes these, they're designed and built entirely here in Vermont. We have this displayed, you can kind of see the window there to the parking lot. So part of the experience of coming to the bakery can be seeing us milling local grain in a locally made mill. So as I said before, if we don't have tourism business that we really do count on it. You know, when we budget for the entire year, we have to plan for losing in these first 4 months of the year. And then we plan for getting enough tourist business to make our business work. We employ 65 people, and I've explained some about what we contribute to the local agricultural economy. So it's not an exaggeration to say that if we don't have the tourist business, we don't have a business. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share.
Thank you for feeding us. Questions?
Just a statement. We learned yesterday that products that originate in North America may not receive tariffs. So ACCD can help with that for everybody here who has a business to get a certification to ensure that it does not get this.
Okay, thank you.
10% is a lot.
I know.
Yeah, the margins are tight. We know that.
Yeah.
And to tag on to Edie's comment, there's they're developing a website. They already have it, but it's growing all the time on navigating the tariff situation on ACT website.
Okay.
So I'm sure Heather can eliminate us for that matter, Amy, but
well,
it's
kudos to
there.
anybody who's keeping up with that and doing all right.
It's hour by hour.
Yeah.
One of the challenges.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Renee, come and join us. Renee Sylvette, our Quebec delegate to New England. We welcome you from Boston. Thank you for being here yesterday. Thank you for spending money in Montpelier.
Perfect as well.
And
My first Ben and Jerry's ice cream yesterday, so this evening.
Fantastic. Welcome. Yeah.
So I've prepared a few remarks, and I'll be delighted to answer your questions, if any. So good morning, bonjour à tous et à toutes. Chairs are Clarkson and Marcotte. Vice chairs are Brock and Granning, ranking member White, and esteemed members of the Senate and House committees on economic development. For the record, my name is René Sylvester. I'm Quebec's delegate to New England. I would like to thank both the House and Senate committees for giving me the opportunity to testify today. It's a real pleasure to be with you today representing Quebec government. For more than 50 years, Quebec government office in Boston has supported economic, political, cultural, academic, and institutional relationship between New England and Quebec. Since taking on my role just a few months ago, I have quickly gained an appreciation for the strong relationship between Quebec and Vermont. And I have a few examples. For example, both regions have collaborated extensively in the agrotourism sector, ensuring that both Vermonters and Quebecers alike can enjoy world-class gourmet tourism experiences. Another area of collaboration is the arts and culture sector. The upcoming Vermont International Film Festival will showcase 22 films from Quebec, highlighting the creative synergy between our two regions. In Burlington on April 26th, there will be a reception celebrating Quebec's contribution. This event builds on more than 8 years of collaboration between the Vermont International Film Festival and the Quebec Government Office in Boston. Franco-Americans, Francophiles, and Francophones from Quebec and across Canada form an interconnected community. Our continued collaborations reinforce these strong cultural and historical ties. Each year, we celebrate Francophonie in Vermont, organized by Quebec delegation and its partners. This year, the event took place on March 13 here at the State House. We were honored to have Ensign Tebbets, Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets, read the proclamation signed by Governor Phil Scott. Beyond Francophonie and culture, our economies are deeply intertwined. Bilateral trades reach $2.3 billion US. And Quebec is the first trading partner of Vermont, both exports and imports. Moreover, around 40% of Vermont's international trade is with us. The tourism sector is also a great example of this interconnection. Throughout the year, many Quebecers visit Vermont, and Vermonters flock to Quebec. In Vermont's borders region, Canadian tourists account for nearly 30% of all visitors to the state, with a significant portion coming from Quebec. Vermonters frequently cross the border to visit family, friends, or simply enjoy the Quebec's offering. In 2024 alone, over 135,000 vehicles from Vermont crossed the border. Compared to 2019, land border crossing for Vermont registered vehicles are up by 15%. It's a positive sign after the pandemic. Many visitors come for activities like skiing, exploring their French-Canadian heritage. Quebec offers a wealth of experience. However, since January of this year, border towns and popular U.S. tourist destinations are seeing a decrease in visitors from Canada and Quebec. Since the beginning of this year, according to Statistics Canada, the number of Canadians returning from a road trips to the US was almost 25% lower compared to the same time frame last year. A similar trend is seen in cross-border air travel. Air Canada reports that as of mid-March, bookings between Canada and the US for the 6 months leading up to September are expected to be down by at least 10% compared to 2024. Also, data provided by online travel agencies on a national scale, there is a downward trend of about 20% over the first 3 months of the year compared to the same year period in 2024. These examples should not be interpreted as an expression of resentment toward American people, but you have to understand that with the current environment, the volatility and the uncertainty around tariffs, people in Canada and Quebec are scared. Some lose their jobs. With the exchange rate, it's more expensive to come to the US. But I really believe that it's during these more difficult times that we need to double down and work together to keep fostering the best conditions to regain tourism momentum. Vermonters are more than neighbors. You are friends. You will always find a warm welcome in Quebec. Our relationship is precious, rooted in trust. Let's continue to strengthen our collaboration and ensure that both Quebecers and Vermonters continue to feel at home on either side of the border. Thank you again to the committees for your attention. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Tom.
Bonjour et bienvenue. Mon ami le sénateur Laura Goulic et ma mère canadienne-française ont insisté sur l'importance de l'utiliser mon français approximatif pour répondre à ma question. Comment le Vermont peut-il rendre la fête du Canada de juillet encore plus spéciale? Now I'll say it in English. Hello and welcome. My friend, Senator Laura Goulic, and my French-Canadian mother stress the importance of using my rough French with my question. How can Vermont make Canada Day this July extra special?
Well, that's a good question. And I would say we have to stay engaged and make sure that, in Quebec especially, we are aware that all your main activities, and even with the current environment, I really think that it's important that we are aware of what's going on for the Fête du Canada or for Quebec, the Saint-Jean-Baptiste on June 24th, or any major events during the summer. Make sure that people in Quebec are aware of these events. So festivals, sports events. Because again, and it's part of my job with my colleagues and stakeholders in Quebec, that we have to make the difference between what's going on, the current administration in Washington and people from Vermont. So I don't have a specific answer for the Canada Day, but look, it's make sure that we are aware of these events on the other side of the border. So yeah.
And maybe it's a day for us to go there as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are working on initiatives because we think that it's important, and we're working on a trade mission to bring some of our ministers in the region to show the people to say, hey, Quebec is still open, and you'll find a warmly welcome in Quebec if you're spending some time in Quebec in the next couple of months. So yeah.
But I think that's an important message that needs to be told for our people, that we're still welcome to go to Quebec.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we welcome each other.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
Even as Louise Penny has canceled her book tour.
Yeah, but you see, these are,
I wanted to go to.
and I'm working very hard on different initiatives. So, it's a personal reason. I understand the mindset. You have to understand that, and I didn't really mention it in my remarks because I don't really have data on, but you see more nationalism in Canada and Quebec. So it's hard to tell, okay, who's really canceling their trips because that, but you have a few examples like Miss Penny canceled that. Last week, I had another great author in Boston, Danny Laferrière, who was in Boston, and we've worked hard for him to build a program around that. So yeah, it happens. And
We're
yeah,
going to live through it, and hopefully we will arrive at the end of it, hopefully.
I think hit on the piece also is that we need to keep communicating with each other.
absolutely.
Make sure that we know what's happening in Quebec, and you need to know what's happening here in Vermont as well, but we need to keep our friendship tight and close.
And our economy. We heard yesterday how many businesses rely on manufacturing in Quebec, vice versa, and really the key piece to some of our most iconic products. So it's just critically important that we navigate this productively.
Absolutely. And I work very hard on trade as well. And this morning, was another good example. I'm thinking of farmers and producers on both sides of the border. I mean, these are key players of our economy, and
Yes.
tariffs will definitely have an impact. So we're gonna work hard to avoid those tariffs. So
Questions?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm next.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. So for the record, Will Krewald, I'm from Basin Harbor Resort and Boat Club. So members of the Senate and House committees, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. For those of you unfamiliar with Basin Harbor, we're a family-owned seasonal resort located in Virgins that welcomes guests from mid-May until mid-October. And we've done so since our first season in 1886. Located at the end of the road and stretching all along Lake Champlain, it's a beautiful location to relax and unwind away from it all. We see visitors mostly from within a day's driving distance, but we also welcome many guests back even after they've moved further away. Our atmosphere is relaxed, historic, and steeped in tradition. As we prepare to embark on our 139th season, we find ourselves busy with many of the same tasks that we do every year. Repairs and maintenance to our buildings and grounds, hiring to fill our mostly seasonal workforce, which balloons up to 240 from 35 year-round, and updating our activities, menus, and events. Additionally, we spend this time taking reservations for vacationers, corporate and group events, group meetings, and families looking to gather, whether for reunions, weddings, or other celebrations. While the tasks are familiar, new challenges and opportunities face us each year. And I hope in my testimony today to give you a glimpse of our experience, as this year we have faced different uncertainties than in years past. As we closed our doors in the fall, our repairs and maintenance team began the off-season with a list of capital projects that not only included updates to our accommodations, but also projects that helped us with our storm resiliency. We've been fortunate in the past couple of years to avoid major damage, but we're building our culverts larger and we're spending more on drainage and electrical backup. As many of you are likely aware, there are also considerable prices in construction materials, and there's a low availability of trades workers. We have a small skilled staff, but we find ourselves spending more time looking for contractors with availability to supplement our efforts. We have employees that travel from Addison, Chittenden, and Lamoille counties, also upstate New York, but we also attract workers more broadly. We are fortunate to have employee housing on property for almost half of our seasonal workforce, but we have struggled to find arrangements for positions not allocated on-site housing. We've had to remove some candidates from consideration because of these housing challenges, and we've also had to take some units out of our rental inventory and repurpose them for staff housing. Additionally, we've also had to rely more on international workers, though we have used them since 1990 to help fill our workforce, as we've struggled to find enough U.S. workers. Hopefully, knock on wood, they will continue to help us fill our ranks, but this winter has caused much concern about whether or not they'll be able to arrive. Our reservations and sales teams have been hard at work, but it feels as though the progress we make is hard fought and sometimes lost overnight. We've had a decline in our group business. The feedback we receive is around economic uncertainty. It's early to understand the impacts at this point because we open in May, right? There's plenty of time for guests to adjust their attendance. But we've heard from some that they are worried about meeting their numbers for their events. The leisure side of things, it seems that folks are still intending on traveling to Basin Harbor, but are feeling pressures of increased costs across their lives. This is especially so for our Canadian visitors that are not only challenged by unfavorable exchange rate, but also by some unwelcoming rhetoric. Again, it's early for us to understand the impacts that can come from shorter stays, reduced spending during their stay, or cancellations that are a little bit closer to their actual stay date. We are not sitting idly by, but we're rather working diligently through increased marketing to try and maintain our level of business. Still, despite these challenges, we press on to open this May and hopefully provide our guests with an environment of rest and relaxation. We have been a haven from the rigors of daily life in the past and endeavor to be one today. The harbor from which we are named attracts folks to swim, boat, water ski, and more. And we are very thankful to the work done by the legislature, the governor, and our congressional delegation in pursuing clean water in Lake Champlain, because without it, we may cease to exist. Members of the Senate and House committees, I'll close my remarks today with a simple ask and a short anecdote. Past summer was my first in this role, and one thing I set out to learn was what attracted people to Basin Harbor and what brought them back each year.
The answer for many is a collection of happy memories and the desire to share them with their next generation. Whether it's diving into the lake, an annual family photo on our lodge lawn, or enrolling their kids in the same program they attended when they were young, they look forward to coming back to Basin Harbor. Our ask: please continue to consider us and our industry as you work this session. In doing so, it allows us to focus on helping our guests continue to come back to Vermont and Basin Harbor for many years. Specifically, as I've highlighted earlier, we appreciate your continued attention on housing, availability of skilled workers, and keeping Vermont an attractive destination for our guests. We believe these efforts benefit all Vermonters and that all boats rise in the harbor together. Yeah.
Questions? I have a question for you.
Sure, yeah.
H-2B visas.
Yeah.
How are you doing this? I mean, this is a big issue for everybody.
Yeah, so, it's early to tell. So, our folks don't arrive till a little bit closer to May. We've gone out for H-2Bs. We use H-2Bs and J-1s. We think they're coming, but it's hard to say.
So you haven't had any indication yet that they're going to be slowed or restricted further. I mean, they're already so restricted. We could do with double the number.
Yeah, so I'm doing something from my memory, but I remember we had some challenges around like a secondary cap, and that happens after the initial sets of petitions go, but I'm not a visa expert, so. Yeah. But we have gone out for H-2B and for J-1 visas for a number of our positions, and it is important that we fill those, because it's been very hard for us to fill those positions otherwise. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. Thank you to the Senate Economic and House Commerce Committees for this opportunity to share. My name is Abby Long. I'm the Executive Director for the Kingdom Trail Association. I also serve on the Vermont Trails and Greenway Council. I'm a steering committee member of the VOREC group alongside Commissioner Pelham, and I'm the chair of the board for the NEK Collaborative, as Kingdom Trails 100+ miles is located in Vermont's beautiful Northeast Kingdom. I sometimes think Chair Marcotte could give this testimony word for word. But our trail network connects Caledonia County's Burke, Lyndonville, and Kirby to Essex County's East Haven. And it's actually East Haven in Essex County where the #2 rated mountain bike trail in the world is located. That fun fact never gets old. And it's just one of the many highlights contributing to Vermont's $2.1 billion outdoor recreation economy, which is nearly 5% of the state's GDP. So KT truly is a world-class trail network, yet we are deeply intertwined with our local community. It was in 1994 that the Northeast Kingdom community members, private landowners, banded together to develop this multi-use trail system on old logging roads. Please know, though, that Kingdom Trails recognizes that our trails were built upon the lands first inhabited by the indigenous folks of our region, the Abenaki, and we are now grateful to 106 private landowners who make our trails possible. Private landowners who do not receive compensation recognition for their generosity. But these landowners, they see the vision, they see the asset, and they see the positive impact that trails are having in one of the most socially and economically challenged regions of our state and of our country for that matter, as the Northeast Kingdom is a federally designated, as Chair Marcotte knows, REAP zone due to our geographic isolation and declining population. And that's why I love that our organization, KT, aligns with the state's new Move Forward Together Vermont strategic plan that was just debuted a month ago in this very room. Envisioning healthy and vibrant communities through outdoor recreation, as KT has proven to be significant in our communities. And nothing is more profound than the positive benefits, the physical and mental health benefits that outdoor recreation offers. Our nonprofit trail organization is predominantly a mountain bike network, but we offer hiking and trail running, and in the winter months, we groom for Nordic fat biking and snowshoeing. We're also proud that 58 miles of our trail network are adaptive mountain bike friendly, so all bodies can enjoy the outdoors in the Northeast Kingdom. And almost 4,000 of our members are under the age of 18. And this is due to VOREC grant funding that has supported after school programming and summer camp programming with our local school district, as well as BIPOC and LGBTQ affinity space programming. But all are also welcome to enjoy our open spaces, as Kingdom Trails has partnered with the Vermont Land Trust and VHCB to conserve now over 400 acres of land that not only hosts trails, but has active forest management on it, which goes on to support the Vermont forest products sector and educate and advance climate resilient forests, which is vital in the wake of the 2 floods that we just experienced this past July and the July before. However, the trail user experience, it extends beyond the trail network into the community fabric and the tourism infrastructure that surrounds it. KT welcomes over 100,000 visits annually. And these visits generate an estimated $10 million in direct spending. And this is spending that supports over 200 direct jobs with earnings of over $5 million. Just last week, Trust for Public Land and the International Mountain Bike Association produced a report highlighting the positive benefits that mountain biking has in rural communities. And they used Kingdom Trails as a case study because we do just that. And on a broader scale, Kingdom Trails elevates the Kingdom as an exemplary place to live, work, and play. We're showcasing our region as a desirable place to be, and that helps area businesses recruit a workforce. The CEO of NVRH, our local hospital, he's been quoted many times as saying that KT not only supports his ER visits, but also helps him attract skilled doctors and nurses and admin because they want to make the Kingdom their home because of our trails. Because the end game is really, yes, we want people visiting over and over and over again, but we want them to fall in love and then move to the Kingdom and be active community members. So Kingdom Trails is really proud to be that link to our neighbors. 75% of our trail users are coming from out of state, and 30% of those we are welcoming from Canada. And actually pre-pandemic, it was 38% were coming from Canada. And KT's truly honored to serve as that cross-cultural connection to promote that relationship between 2 nations. All of our communications and our signage for years now have been in both French and English because we recognize that Canadians are truly part of our trail community. And that's why it's been really heartbreaking these past 2 months to hear consistently from our Canadian trail users through emails and phone calls daily that they express that they love Kingdom Trails, but that they will not be visiting until our political environment has shifted. They've even gone so far as to invite Vermont to be the 11th province. And with our friends in Canada choosing not to visit, KT is really bracing ourselves for a decline in our membership revenues. And these are revenues that are needed for our operations to appropriately manage and steward our trails that are on private land. And this decline, of course, will play into and impact the economic impacts that our surrounding businesses depend on to keep their doors open. So with encouragement from Steve Wright at JP, who you'll hear from in a bit, we chose to write an open letter to our Canadian trail users, letting them know that we cherish our relationship with them and that they will always be welcome at Kingdom Trails. And my hope is that the state of Vermont can help amplify that message. And really, for our community and our state to thrive, we need the support of everyone in our region, no matter what side of the border. Thank you.
Sure that Delegate Sylvester will take that back to Quebec as well. Let the government know and his people know that we still welcome them. I think one thing that we need to continue to remember the importance of our outdoor recreation is 5 years ago, that during the pandemic, it was a lifeline for Vermonters and for everybody to be able to get together and to be a community outside where we couldn't do that any longer indoors. So I think that really helped a lot of people survive that pandemic and certainly helped their mental health as well as their physical health as well.
It was a safe place to gather. Mhm.
If becoming the 11th province is too much of a stretch, I hear many that would be happy to be a territory too.
Yes.
Any questions for Abby? Abby, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Morning.
Hi, morning. Thank you for coming all the way from Brattleboro. Wow. Northeast Cape, Brad.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kate Traskis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Brattleboro Alliance, our designated downtown organization for Brattleboro. And I'm here to emphasize the profound role that arts, culture, and the creative economy play in Vermont's vitality, particularly in Brattleboro, the arts and culture capital of Vermont. We are a distinctive community where creativity is not only welcomed, but woven into everyday life, creating an outsized cultural footprint. I like to say we punch above our weight. Our downtown is alive with galleries, performance spaces, public art, and a maker culture. Visitors wander from museums to artisan shops, take scenic drives along the Connecticut River, and discover public art that is as much a part of the landscape as our covered bridges and mountains. Vermont's creative sector, which includes businesses, nonprofits, and individual artists, is a powerful driver in our state's economy. In 2023 alone, arts and culture represented more than $1.2 billion in economic activity. Brattleboro's downtown is a living example of what this looks like. It's not only a destination for visitors, it's a proving ground for the future of Vermont's creative sector. Take Brattleboro Museum and Art Center, located in a historic train station at the heart of downtown. BMAC is not only a space for contemporary art exhibits, it's a community anchor. Last month, nearly 400 visitors celebrated an opening of 6 new exhibits featuring the work of over 30 artists and curators, many of whom were on hand for the festivities. As BMAC Director Danny Lichtenfeld said during his remarks, at these uncertain times, it feels like a precious gift to come together, to nourish our hearts and minds, and to connect with one another over art and ideas. Just a few blocks away, the Stone Church, a reimagined 19th century Gothic church, pulses with live music. With a 300-person capacity, it draws national and international acts, resulting in 15,000 ticket sales sold annually. 75% of those sold to out-of-town visitors. Beyond entertainment, the Stone Church actively contributes to community development through initiatives like Girls to the Front, a series which empowers women and non-binary individuals in the music industry. These programs not only enrich our cultural fabric, but also promote inclusivity and civic skill development in the region. The New England Center for Circus Arts, or NECA, another Brattleboro gem, draws performers and students from around the world. The pro-track training programs often stop in Brattleboro before continuing on to Montreal Cirque du Soleil. These flexible folks bring fresh, innovative energy into the town while attracting audiences who stay, dine, and shop locally. Hatch Space is a community-powered woodworking and maker space designed to teach traditional skills in a modern world. At Hatch Space, seasoned woodworkers mentor beginners. Teenagers learn to build with their hands. Artists craft, build installations, and small business owners create prototypes and products. It's a place where creativity becomes entrepreneurship and where tools become the language of possibility. It's building the next generation of makers, and soon tourists will be able to partake as well. We also have long-standing events like the 3-day Brattleboro Literary Festival, started in 2002, which has welcomed over 900 authors and thousands of readers from across the country. Our beloved First Friday gallery walks have an over 30-year tradition, which combines art, music, food, craft, and community as a joyful spectacle. These celebrations not only entertain, they educate, they nurture civic pride, stimulate the local economy, and spotlight Vermont's unique creativity. Data from 2022 tells us what we already feel on the ground. Nearly 25% of cultural event attendees are non-local visitors, and 80% say that the event was their primary reason for visiting. Once here, they spend an average of $52 per person beyond ticket costs, boosting local restaurants, shops, and lodging. In Brattleboro, our data from 2023 shows nearly 100,000 visitors booking a collective of 2,000 nights and an estimated spending potential of $35 million. But beyond dollars and data, what makes Brattleboro's creative economy so powerful is its deep connection to identity and quality of life. Art is not just something we attend, it's something we live. We see it daily expressed in our public art, which makes the town both a canvas and a gallery. Two standouts are the High Street mural and our Pliny Park mosaics. They both feature vibrant, nature-inspired designs, and they were community built. These projects were made possible through the crowdsourced fundraising and Vermont Better Places grant program. They reflect who we are. Visitors stop, photograph, and share them far and wide. Brattleboro is living proof that a small town can have a big impact when it invests in creativity. Our cultural sector connects generations, drives tourism, educates youth, builds community, and fosters a sense of place. From live performances to public art, from circus arts to woodworking, these are not luxuries. They are the infrastructure of a healthy, resilient, and future-ready Vermont. I urge you to continue supporting the creative economy with your words and also policies and investments that ensure towns like Brattleboro can continue to lead with culture, community, creativity at the heart of our local economies. Thank you. I think there might be a few pictures that I sent in, just go through them quickly. The group shot is actually several of the downtown directors from across the state came to visit Brattleboro recently. This is the Stone Church. This is a scene at our First Friday gallery walks. We set out a community table.
We're missing heifers. I mean, sadly.
Yeah. That was a big one. Again, a gallery and shot of downtown.
Right. Yes, John.
Okay, how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
I was a little curious about something we've heard from other testimonies about we're here, and what are other things we do while we're here? What are, something brought us to this destination and now there's other things. I'm just curious, is that something that the downtown station, like how do you sort of ensure that if there's one event, there are then other sort of spokes around the hub of whatever it is that drew someone to Brattleboro?
Yeah, I love that you use the analogy of hub and spoke because I think that, our downtowns are the heartbeats and they are the center of that hub and spoke. Actually, we are, as a downtown collective, we are working on a community, a marketing initiative to create itineraries that the state can use. So they start in the heart of the downtown and then are anywhere from 36 to 48 to 72 hours. So connecting from town out into the rest of the region.
So farther into, not just within Windham County, but something that goes.
Right. So come to Brattleboro and then head out Route 30 out to 100, do a loop around, recognizing that I think we're stronger when we work together. Putney has Next Stage. We can add in these communities and not feel like we have to be so siloed.
But increasingly, to that point, Heather knows better than all of us, tourism I just was noticing with Smithsonian Magazine the other day when they were promoting a 48-hour tour to Buffalo, New York, where I was born and raised, which has some of the greatest architecture in the world in its downtown. And it was doing a 24-hour option and a 48-hour option and a 72-hour option for travel. And so we do very well to market within people's timeframes as they are contemplating how much time they're going to commit and devote to a region. So I think all this is just critically important.
I just want to say, as a representative from the county in front of the kind of outer rural edges of the county, Brattleboro is such a lifeline to us. And it is so wonderful to be able to literally have world-class art and culture. And I really appreciated you talking about art and culture as infrastructure. I often think that our sector is the R&D, research and development that often goes a lot further. And so I really appreciate all the work that you do and definitely punctuate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here. Any questions?
And underscoring the creative economy.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Vicky?
Blake.
Good morning, all, and many thanks to everybody for the opportunity to speak to the committee this morning. I'm Vicky Allard, and together with my husband, Joe Hanglin, we are owners and founders of Blake Hill Preserves, a specialty preserve manufacturing business based in Windsor, Vermont. We started our business from scratch in 2010, and we're now sold in over 3,000 stores nationwide. And I'd love to give you a little insight of our business and how tourism is actually really important even for a food manufacturing business. Blake Hill is named after an old farming property in Grafton, Vermont. That was our first home when we moved to Vermont in 2004. The abundance of wild fruits growing on our property rekindled my love for preserve making from childhood days in England. And I ended up making lots of jars of blackberry, apple jam, and more. A friend came up to visit for a weekend and took a jar of our local jam down to the local village store without asking us, and came back with his Sunday morning newspaper and our first order of jam. So it's a true business that's been started by accident, but has really flourished just with a passion for making great quality food, and with just an incredible team who we're lucky to work with every day. To begin with, we balanced jam making with our old office jobs, our small Vermont kitchen becoming a very jammy home-based operation. Our entry hall was our marmalade warehouse, our living room, our chutney warehouse, and every free moment, so we're prepping ingredients, jam making, attending our local farmers markets, and so much more. To keep up with demand, we decided to dedicate ourselves to Blake Hill full-time, built our first commercial kitchen in Grafton, and it quickly became an all-consuming lifestyle, providing the opportunity to work with our incredible team every day, get a great upper body workout, making what's now thousands of pounds of jam every day, prepping lots of delicious ingredients, and just establishing some phenomenal relationships with other quintessential Vermont businesses, some of whom are with us today here, Cabot Cheese and Woodstock Inn. We're now based at Artisans Park in Windsor, Vermont, which is a phenomenal place to have a business. It very much focuses on providing the opportunity to build some great manufacturing facilities for the different businesses there, all of which focus on food and drink, and also to provide a great visitor experience, because we're very much, all of us are sort of building that interactive experience at our various manufacturing facilities with our different retail spaces that are incorporated. Artisans Parks provide us the opportunity to establish a manufacturing facility that meets the growing demands and particular needs of a manufacturing business such as ours. Importantly, to provide a quality workplace environment for our team, and to build out this great retail presence in our specialty preserve shops, where visitors can come and enjoy an immersive jam making experience. We offer customers the opportunity of free sampling of our now over 60 sweet, savory, and spicy jams, condiments, pickles, and more. Some incredible tasting experience as we pair cheese and jam making together for our customers to try. And we've also established a Cooking with Jam section where we offer new jammy baked goods, where we can highlight the incredible talents of local bakers who are incorporating our jam into their products. Some of our favorite treats there are a lemon frosted blueberry thyme cookie and a deliciously fudgy Seville orange marmalade chocolate brownie. We now have over 50 team members at Blake Hill, covering sales and marketing, production, fulfillment, and warehouse management. In addition to developing our broad range of sweet, savory, and spicy treats, we have a very diverse customer base, from in-person visitors to our jam shop, our website, wholesale customers, distributors, and fellow manufacturers of other specialty food products and services who love to incorporate our jam as a flavor profile in their cookies, ice cream, cheese boards, and more. We're honoured for Blake Hill to be offered on the shelf and on the plate at many of our customers' wonderful stores, restaurants, and inns around the state, and are available in over 3,000 stores across the country. Tourism remains an incredibly important part of our customer base, especially at the heart of our business, our specialty preserve shop. Being based in a rural community, the addition of tourists to our area has a hugely positive impact on the economics of our business, especially in the summer and fall, where tourists, whether from out of state or overseas, may account for up to 80% of our jam shop's business. And our Canadian visitors are particularly important to us. This business is particularly important to us as it also provides the opportunity to sell direct to customer instead of at the different pricing scales that one sells to wholesale or distributor customers who have their own margins that they need to support their businesses. Also, our shop visitors then help support our website sales when they return home and want to stock up more jam after their visit to our jam shop. So really those tourist dollars, they really are incredibly important to us because they just multiply in their value to our business. We also hope we positively contribute to Vermont's tourism industry by offering an immersive Vermont specialty food experience in a quality space, providing an engaging time speaking with our jam ambassadors in our shop, sampling Vermont-made treats, and also exploring other locally made products, whether for larger brands or also other smaller emerging Vermont brands that customers might not ever otherwise discover unless they visit a local grocery store. I remember when we used to visit Vermont as visitors many years ago, and we really appreciated being able to balance enjoying the incredible scenic beauty of Vermont and all its amazing outdoor activities with some indoor explorations at some of Vermont's iconic art, craft, and artisan food venues. And we hope we can continue to make a small contribution to those offerings in our community. As regards looking for this year ahead, as we move into a hopefully drier, brighter spring, we hope that visitor traffic will continue to increase, although it's going to be interesting to see whether our Canadian friends make as many trips across the border into Vermont as they used to, given the current political and economic environment. We hope that the close relationship that Vermont has with our Canadian neighbours helps keep our state as a friendly, enjoyable place to visit, even on a weekend or a day trip across the border. And we're certainly very pleased to keep the committee updated with our business's own experience in this regards, but also super interested in anything we can do to help maintain the relationship with our Canadian friends across the border, if there's any recommendations or events that are being planned. Many thanks for your time in learning a little bit about our jam making adventures at Blake Hill, and also for your passionate support of tourism in the States.
Thank you so much.
You don't happen to have any of the dark chocolates there are. Potential Jeff Masters are dying to.
Yeah, dark chocolates, it's fantastic.
I was curious about how you mentioned a number of other connections to other food products that some local food products, some are where your product becomes sort of a value added to another product.
Yes.
How do those individuals find you, and how do you find them? And is it coming through your facilities? Is it distributed through social media channels? How does that happen?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's really organic. It's just by being out and about in the community. I think by just having hopefully a strong reputation of just being very reciprocal and excited to work with one another, then it's really just evolved from that. We certainly spend almost $0, probably about $12,000 a year on marketing. We're a small business and we really believe in just that organic growth. And we're very lucky to have on our team an incredible photographer as well. So people are able to see that we can have these collaborations, and we're very happy to share them on social media and to promote other people's products. And so people just are very keen to get engaged with us.
I guess as a follow-up, something that came to mind as you were describing people coming to the shop to visit, do you have the sense that you then have relationships with property owners in the area who maybe have short-term rentals that can provide some product placement, or is that something that's within the amount of time that you have, given that you're busy with so many other things?
Yeah. I think it's definitely something that we can continue to explore more. Certainly, we're honoured to have our jams on the plate at some of the local establishments where they're serving, say, our jalapeno lime jam for breakfast with some poached eggs, which has been great. And we do a lot of work with the Woodstock Inn. We also love to, when visitors come to our shop, to let them know of great places to stay. And when we have business visitors as well, then we're always recommending local places they can stay. So if they're doing a trip to Vermont to come and discuss business, to encourage them to stay overnight and explore some of our restaurants and some great places to stay.
To answer your first question, Randy's right here. Just think of the beautiful, delicious things that could be done here. And in goodie bags, wedding goodie bags, and all sorts of things. Their smaller size jams are a great addition to any goodie bag.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, thank you. And that really is the passion of our business. And we believe we're a business very much of people, and it's about relationships. And I think that it's just that passion for great food and working with one another just makes it a super enjoyable place to work. And I think all of our team enjoy just that personal side of it as well. We do also have some of our jam ambassadors here today, and we're going to be serving some naked chocolate spreads later on at 4 o'clock.
Don't eat.
A technical, I guess, question. I'm curious to know about your ingredient costs and supply chain. Have you had any trouble there with the tariffs or just around it, and now that they're gone?
Right. I think on the ingredient side, most of our ingredients are sort of from the US. So we're hoping that that's going to be limited, although some of our fresh produce that, like in our marmalades, and one has to go overseas when you're out of the sort of the citrus season in the US. The biggest impact we're expected to see is more on the like the containers, the glass jars and lids. And they were some of the biggest challenges also in COVID. I mean, literally just yesterday, we got a call from one of our suppliers for glass jars, and they increased the prices on us twice. They're already going to be twice what they used to be. So we're holding our breath, and we're looking to see if things settle down a little. But I think very much the container side, which is an incredibly important, because we can make the most incredible jams, but if we haven't got something to pour them into, then we're really stuck. So it's going to be interesting. And there's not a lot of a lot of the glass jars are actually purchased from overseas, so it's not just us.
Where do you source those?
They're either Europe or Asia. So, yep, both. Purchasing through Canada. So there's suppliers just across the border, but most of the glass jars that they offer are being manufactured in Asia or Europe.
Yes, that's a good question. Thanks.
I have small business questions that I'm going to hold off on and catch you in the sampling area later. But on the tourism side and Tourism Day, what made you decide as a small business owner to change your business model to add the tourism aspect to it? How did that go?
Yeah, again, I think it was more sort of an organic thing. So we were looking for a larger facility, and the Artisans Park particularly appealed to us because you can build a manufacturing space, but you have that engagement with customers. And we used to love doing that at the farmers market. So we were very keen to establish a specialty preserve shop so people could come in and experience everything we make, and we can have that sort of personal contact with people coming to visit. And we've been blown away about how much tourism does play an important piece, that we super value our local customers, because people who make Blake Hill a part of their everyday and love coming to the shop to see everything new we have is really important to us. But it's been amazing how important tourism can be on that side. And it's been growing year on year. It was obviously a bit of a challenge during COVID, but we do hope that the upward trajectory can continue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love shopping.
Oh, thank you.
And, and there are a lot of small Vermont towns that would love to have a vibrant downtown, but frankly, they're between a mountain and a river. And, and so they don't have large places and ways to expand. And one of the things I find interesting about where you are is that you're in this, you've sort of joined this community of other businesses that are all kind of unique and quirky. Plus there's an art thing there.
Yes.
And so could you speak a little bit about, that experience, because it seems like a synergy that is also useful for smaller towns that are trying to, that they can't, there's no room in the downtown. So how do they bring that prosperity and that business into there?
I think, for us, there's definitely two benefits for that. As we were looking to expand from our base in Grafton, it was very important for us to feel if we were going to establish a larger facility, then for it not to be placed, because there were some great buildings in Grafton as well, but they would be literally right next door to somebody's where they live. And we've always wanted to be very respectful. I'm sure nobody wants to suddenly, they might get excited for a moment to have a jam making business next door. But when they start to see the large vehicles that come to pick up some significant amounts of jam every day, then people don't want to have that next to them. So we wanted to very much respect that. And Artisans Park was great because this provides people a very friendly, visitor-friendly place to visit, and doesn't negatively impact people who choose to live in a quiet rural town. So I think that's very important with respect to the park. But I think it definitely brings, certainly, with respect to the different businesses there, we understand that we're one of the key employers for the local community. I think transportation is incredibly important as well, because even though we're in Windsor, we are 3 miles outside. But Windsor has established a new transportation service for people in town, so people can easily get backwards and forwards. But I think it can bring great employment opportunities, additional dollars. People might come to the park, but then they're excited to go and explore downtown Windsor. So I think manufacturers are always looking for a great place to be able to establish your business and to enable it to grow. And so to have places available like that where you can make a fairly easy transition is really important.
Yes, for those who forget, Windsor is the birthplace of Vermont, where Constitution House is. Very important, just 3 miles away.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to a Constitution jam.
Oh,
but all jam is good for our constitutions. That's very good. Anyway, thank you so much, Vicki, and we look forward to tasting all that chocolate later.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
If you want to use that, do it before she copyrights it.
Yes, I'm married to that lawyer. So are you going to introduce Steve?
Steve's right, from JP.
Paul, the cheese jam lady. Thank you for that. Morning. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the committees today. Thanks to my friend, Chair Marcotte, Chair Clarkson, and like I said, the scheduler for today neglected to mention that I would follow the jam and cheese lady.
She sweetened it up.
The youth got a lot of puns today. Thank you.
It's what the State House does.
I had some visuals, but they were all snowbanks, and they don't really show up particularly well against the white background there. We had a very good winter at JP. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm actually my name is Steve Wright. I'm the president and general manager at JP, and I'm also the chair of the North Country Hospital in Newport, the chair of the Vermont Ski Areas Association. I'm on the Travel and Rec Council with Commissioner Pelham. And usually when I come to testify, I'm told that I can mention Jay Peak less than 3 times in any of my comments because I have to keep things at a more macro level. So I'm excited to talk about the business that signs my paychecks a little bit today. As you may have heard, we have had our fair share of extraordinary challenges at Jay Peak over the past decade with global pandemics, receiverships, scandals, closed borders, fluctuating currencies, and the present federal administration's apparently conscious reprisal of our Canadian audience. But we have been able to navigate our way through it by offering great service, fair pricing, at par pricing for our Canadian guests for the last 3 decades, and an open mind toward the skiers and riders and golfers and water parkers who travel to visit us. All the while providing an enormous tax base for our community and our region, employing more than 1,500 people a year in well-paid part and full-time benefited jobs, and helping with other great assets like Kingdom Trails and Abbey to give our small corner of New England and the state something to be enormously proud of. We were purchased out of receivership roughly 3 seasons ago and have set top and bottom line revenue records in several of the last seasons, including this one, with 2.5 weeks left in our fiscal year, which is 428.5 hours left in our fiscal year for those of us actually counting down the hours, like myself. Will be the most financially successful season in our history and 3rd all time with respect to natural snowfall, which as of the foot of snow that we got Tuesday into Wednesday of this week puts us at about 455 inches. In short, I can say all this because I have been there when times were less so. Things are going very well. And when they do very well, the ripples felt outward throughout our community, through our staff that lives within that community and helps buoy the region through the lens of tax receipts, nearly 1,500 jobs, like I said, and the ability to grow compensation for each of them. And that is the end of the positive part of the testimony. But very, very well seasons are tough to come by in the ski business. And although we're thrilled to be running through the finish line at the pace that we are at this point, we have been through enough less very well winters that we generally hedge that optimism as we head into the summer. And this summer, we are hedging like never before. Staff housing for those jobs in our region are nearly impossible to find, forcing us to take warm beds out of our retail inventory, like the folks at Basin Harbor, which should be rented roughly 80 nights a year. And they're all being given over to staff housing. That hits us with a net decretive impact of more than $250,000 a year just on that aspect of housing. That lack of housing continues to be a roadblock for us in both attracting and retaining the best possible staff members that we can. And new to the list of operational difficulties is the specter of another potential tax hike, this time through the lens of a proposed amendment lumping businesses into a distinct property tax category. I do not imagine that this is with the intent to drop our tax rate. Of equal concern are escalating costs relating to CapEx spends. I am inside of that planning and budgeting process at this point, and while CapEx used to be 3 to 4% of our total profit margin, it has more than doubled to 11 to 12% in just the past few years due to rising costs of products and banking escalations. This does not include the forecasted impacts of the most recent trade taxes that our federal government is integrating. But maybe the most difficult hurdle that we find ourselves in, even in this very well season, is the threat to our business via our federal administration's conscious self-immolation of its relationship with Canada, an audience that generally makes up 50% of our top line revenue. And if there is a hospitality business in the state that depends upon its Canadian audience for its top and bottom line, I don't know of them. Our early FY26 season pass sales are on sale at this point. Our US side is up 10, 15%. We are off 80% with Canadian season pass sales at this point. And that does not look to be turning around. I have myself called more than half of those households, those Canadian households, that bought season passes last year and did not this year at this point, and spoke with the heads of those households, asking them why they are not purchasing season passes. And by and large, it is not because of the taxes. It is not because of a difficult currency. It is not because of an impossible border crossing situation with reduced hours. It is because of the challenge of their sovereignty by our administration. We have also lost several hundred-person Canadian golf groups who have canceled for those same reasons. Canadian summer and fall retail reservations have dropped by 40% at this point compared to year over year. And our hockey business, which is the biggest index of top-line revenue during our May through October period, is missing half a dozen Canadian teams every single weekend through that period. So I ask you to please do whatever you can to keep as much as you can steady for these Vermont businesses like myself and the one that I manage. I realize that the state's budget writers face great uncertainty from the feds, but please do what you can for businesses and do not make an already tough business climate even more difficult. But we have survived much and even begun to thrive these past few seasons at Jay, and my gratitude for that and for the staff that has driven each bit of that success deserves more in the way of optimistic perspectives, at least to close. We have introduced thousands of new skiers and snowboarders to Jay Peak this year, as evidenced by our resort surveying. It suggests that nearly 15% of the people that visited Jay Peak, of that 500,000 people who visit Jay Peak on an annual basis, 15% of them have never been to Jay Peak before this year. That's 3 times the number that we usually see. This is a result, obviously, of some of the most snow in the country for sure, but it's also, I think, running the place in an honest and transparent way, putting the staff first, the guests close to first in our decision-making, and aligning ourselves to the strong Vermont brand that we need to keep supporting via additional marketing funds directed to our friends at VDTM. I was asked to put a personal anecdote in here, so I had to close with that. That I was on Saturdays, I work the pizza ovens at Jay Peak because I like pizza, but also because I can take my name tag off and nobody knows who I am when I'm at the pizza oven. And a woman came to the counter and engaged her pizza guy in a conversation where she mentioned that she was one of the first timers to Jay Peak. She said that she had been motivated to come this season because of how much snow we had been getting, and because she had never been here before, and also because, in quotes, her kids wouldn't shut the hell up about the water park. Just perfect for me. She mentioned that she had never seen snowbanks that big and asked me if they were difficult to get around during our operating season. I said that, sometimes the snowbanks that we have to dodge feel insurmountable, but we haven't found one yet that we couldn't navigate. So I appreciate your time today. Thanks for all of your hard work on behalf of the state. And it's a state that we all love. We all run businesses in. The folks that you heard testimony from today are meaningful. The people in the audience that are representative of those hospitality-based and tourism-based businesses are here for that support. And it's clear that both of these committees are engaged and asking smart questions, and I appreciate that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Thomas.
So I have 3 of those kids that also won't shut the hell up about your water park. We're going to be going
to me in English. That's all I ask.
What I heard you say is that it wasn't the tariffs, it wasn't the border crossings. It was that at the national level, we have insulted our neighbors to the north, and that they don't want to come down here. My question to you is, how can Vermont, the state of Vermont, rectify that in any way, just distancing ourselves from those stances that we do see Canada, and we hope to be seen as one of the most Canadian states. All right, we're Vermont, right? So are there things that we could do as a state that would in any way show our affinity, our affection towards our friends to the north?
Well, I think it's days like, I think it's a good question. I think it's days like this where we all have this conversation in sort of an open manner where we can put those issues on the table. Where you're asking questions, as you have before about, are there events that we can do? What can we do with messaging within marketing? It's what we can do as a state is to not walk away from that state marketing budget. It's to buoy the budget and increase the budget, and it's on Commissioner Pelham to possibly update the messaging and how are we approaching those markets? What are we saying to them? What are we inviting them to do? But it's to continue to invest in that Canadian market. It is very easy from a small business all the way up to a VDTM marketing arm to reduce that spend, thinking that, well, there's not much we can do to break through that noise. But just the opposite is true, that we need to put more energy into that. We need to be more thoughtful about what it is that we're saying to them.
Yeah, and to go to Thomas's earlier point, Vermont celebrates Canada Day, and that would be great in some capacity. And arranging for Champ to come and visit the water park.
Great heads that.
They come in.
Marketing person here. I love it. Fantastic. Yeah.
So thank you. I wanted to react a little bit to one of the comments that you made and dispel a myth that I think is going around, that is there is any interest in increasing property taxes on businesses through this education bill. I need to be very, very clear that we have a homestead rate right now in Vermont and a non-homestead rate, which means that homes are taxed in one bucket and everything else is taxed in a separate bucket, which means second homes, empty lots, apartment blocks, businesses, all different kinds of businesses, right? And it is a goal for us to keep our business tax rates low, which is why we don't tax, why we have. So if we can separate out that non-homestead rate and separate out the businesses that are bringing in taxes in so many ways through employing people and selling goods and all of, I mean, you all could tell me more than I can.
Just wrote a check. Yeah.
Right. Then we can keep those rates low if we can separate them out. So please, please understand that every single desire for us to understand what all is in that non-homestead rate and be able to really categorize those differently is not about taxing businesses higher. It is actually about keeping those tax rates low.
I appreciate those thoughts.
Well, and I really appreciate bringing that up and being able to make that public.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
By that a bit.
Yeah, honestly, Stephen, I really appreciate, admire the time you're putting into contacting families one at a time, because that's what so much travel and tourism is about, relationships that we build. And I wanted to ask a little bit, do you get the sense that you'll be invited to call back with some of those conversations that you've had? How are you feeling in terms of persistence and the size of that snowbank, I guess I should say?
Yeah. Multiple snowbanks for sure. I think part of the reason that JP has this relationship with the Canadian market is not only our kind of proximity to the market, right? We're right on the North Troy port, but we have offered at par pricing on non-margin products for 3 decades. So if we have $100 lift ticket, a Canadian skier or snowboarder can come down with $100 in Canadian currency and pay for that lift ticket, essentially anywhere from a 25 to a 40% discount based on where the conversion rate has fluctuated to. So that over the years was sort of the foundation of building that relationship with them. We strengthened it during the pandemic, where as soon as that border closed, we just refunded everything. There were no questions asked. We refunded their season passes that they purchased, any vacations that were on the books, we gave the money back. So they give us the benefit of the doubt by and large. 2 of our biggest weeks of the season are our Ontario break week and Quebec break week, which are the second and third weeks in March, first and second weeks in March. Accounts for about $8 million worth of top line for the business. We had 0 cancellations, nothing. And it was really at the infancy of this federal administration messaging madness that's going on at this point. So I was of the assumption that, well, that strong relationship is going to insulate all of the business here if we didn't lose any. Since then, it has been a completely different story. I think that this thing will probably have a longer tail than any of us consider at this point. I think for a business like JP to bring it back, that has that relationship with the market, I think we will bounce back. I don't think it's going to be quick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. So Kim Jackson, I think from Unadapted, before we have our final speaker, Molly. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking the time today. We're greatly appreciative of it. I am Kim Jackson. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing for Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports. Not sure if you're familiar with the organization, but we were founded in 1987 by Laura Farrell at a Scutney, what is the Scutney Trails now, used to be Scutney Mountain. And we are the largest, definitely in Vermont, if not in New England, nonprofit organization that provides sports and recreation, outdoor recreation for people with disabilities. And we serve folks of all different disabilities. So not just physical, spinal cord, or, kids on the spectrum, PTSD with veterans. It's anybody and anybody who wants to come to Vermont, experience Vermont, love what we have to offer. Obviously, we're steeped in outdoor recreation. And that's our connection to the travel and tourism industry. We do about, in 2024, we had 5,300 outings that we provided across the state. We have multiple locations from north to south, and we're year round. And about half of those folks are traveling from out of state. They are coming to the ski resort, our ski resort partners in the winter, and then they're coming to the Burlington waterfront in the summer. To do what everybody loves to do, and that's, enjoy traveling. Traveling's a human thing. It's a connection to people. It's going into someone's community and meeting them where they are and learning and teaching. So it's definitely an integral part of what we do at Vermont Adaptive, and ensuring that anybody can travel to Vermont, and making sure that things are accessible to do that. So in the winter, we do skiing and snowboarding, as you may suspect, and have all sorts of different types of equipment to accommodate anybody who wants to come play with us. Same in the summer, we do kayaking, canoeing, mountain biking, hiking, sailing on the Lake Champlain, lots of school groups. We all know that it's also travel is a mental and a physical piece of well-being, right? We've been talking a lot about numbers and the challenges that we're facing, but I think we have to remember that travel is fun and it is a huge economic driver for the state. So trying to integrate some of those positive pieces of what travel means to people is very important going forward. Just a couple of other numbers. For us, we know that there's about 13 million potential visitors who identify with a disability that live within a 5-hour drive of Vermont. So that's a huge opportunity to tap into, to people to come and visit with us. One example, and my colleague Jeff behind here tells it way better because it's his story, but we had a couple of fellows who came up from Washington, D.C. They'd seen that we offered adaptive mountain biking, and they wanted to come and see what it was all about. So Jeff and a crew went out deep into the trails down in the Killington area. And apparently the two guys had a moment, and Shannon turned to Jeff and said, "I have not been deep in the woods like this since my injury." So the experience that we can provide through travel and recreation it's impactful. It's huge for many, many people. The other part of what we do is we never turn anyone away for their ability to pay for our programs. Last year, we did almost $220,000 worth of scholarships for the program. So knowing that people can come to our state and there is support, especially for somebody living with a disability who may have, many, many more medical expenses and financial needs. And then just a couple of projects that we're doing collectively with partners here in the state. We are working with VORAC and the Vermont Trails and Greenways Association, Vermont Mountain Bike Association, Upper Valley Trails, to do trail assessments, both mountain biking, waterways, and pedestrian, to assess all of these trails in the state. Landowners who have trails who want to share that with people who are coming to the state, figuring out how do we make these trails more accessible, going in, doing the assessments, giving a complete project back to the folks that requested the assessment, and then making those trails accommodate a really, really wide mountain bike. Or maybe it's somebody who's a wheelchair user and they need a very flat grade.
It could be a boat ramp that just needs to be tweaked a little bit. But those are the things that we're really working on collectively with a bunch of different people, organizations in the state, as well as doing with CRO planning. We're doing an economic impact study that's specific to adaptive sports and recreation and travel here in Vermont. So we've got a lot on the agenda. But I guess it just really, for me personally, it goes back to I've been in the travel industry here. I started off at Killington Resort as the PR director. So travel to me, coming to this state, has a lot of meaning to me. And it's really, really exciting to be able to share that with others who want to come visit here. So hopefully we can turn some of these positives of what travel really, really means into some of the meaty stuff that Steve talked about and how it's affecting us economically. But thank you very much for the time.
Any questions?
Yeah, thanks very much for your presentation, and I can attest to how really meaningful your group is to the folks who come over to ski with you and their parents. It's tremendous. My wife volunteered over at Sugarbush for many years and wrote me into it many a times. And it's really important when you just see the kids and their ability and freedom and happiness in terms of participating in something like this, and their families. Just so much joy. It's really, really important. I appreciate it.
And I think that's a good point. I mean, there are people who love to solo travel for sure, but mostly we travel with our friends and our family and our communities, and making that connection so that everybody has access to that is super important.
I mean, you do life-saving work. I don't think it can be undersold, the work that you do, and really appreciate that. I'm curious if the ski academies, the Vermont ski academies, if you work with them at all.
We do. We sometimes partner. They'll come in, they'll have their racers come in and actually volunteer with our kids. It's tough because a lot of the academies, they're on this crazy racing schedule, right? So trying to get them to have that window of time to come and actually volunteer with us. But we do a lot with at Sugarbush and down in Killington. Those are our two big academies.
Well, and with one of our most famous skiers having been so heavily injured, Kevin Pierce, I mean, there's an opportunity for us to really be addressing that, with one of our.
And we have a Paralympian who was born and raised in Killington, in Spencer Woods. So there's a lot of that here.
Participating here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're helping to train Paralympians here.
We are, and the West, everybody goes West. So we like to think of ourselves as one of those feeder type programs where it goes back to every athlete that comes to us, participant, is very individualized. What do you want to do? What are your goals? Some want to just learn to ski and have fun. Others do have those goals where they really want to go. There's a good example of a woman who was a ski patroller at Gore Mountain, had an accident, came back to skiing, and she just won the national. I can't get the term exactly right. It's she won nationals for para in alpine, based on a video that we did when we were training with her, and we said, let's just take a video and you send it out west and see what happens. So there's definitely a feeder program where we can get an athlete to a certain level, and then we say, okay, go get classified, go shoot for the team, head to Winter Park, and yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
All
right, our
final presenter. Morning.
Morning. Thank you. Molly Mahar, President of Vermont Ski Areas Association. Happy to be here with some of our members, some of our partners here today, and a lot of other folks from the tourism industry. We've certainly heard some wonderful testimony, adding color and depth to the tourism, the breadth of the tourism tapestry that we have here in the state. It touches many businesses. This is one of my favorite days in the State House to hear the details of businesses and their employees working so hard to create these experiences for our visitors and for our Vermont residents as well. I'd like to thank the witnesses for being here today, taking their time to prepare and to travel here to Montpelier to share their stories and perspectives and their challenges. A special thank you to Renee Sylvester and Maggie Randall here representing the Quebec government. We appreciate their representation and their perspective during such a difficult and challenging time for Canadians and for Vermonters alike. And through yesterday morning's testimony on tariffs, and then of course this morning's, we're seeing how this increased expenses and decreased Canadian visitation stand to really negatively impact our state and our many businesses. And speaking with Renee earlier, talking about just maintaining the strength of our long-held relationships is very important and more important now than ever. So I guess that's the one silver lining of this time is we can really reinvest in how important our Canadian neighbors are to us and vice versa. I'd like to thank the Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs Committee and House Commerce and Economic Development Committees for all of your time this morning and your great questions. And I just wanted to sketch out the rest of the day for folks that are here from the industry. We have a press conference that'll be starting at 11:30 in the Cedar Creek room. That's upstairs next to the House chamber. We'll have lunch after that and hope you'll have an opportunity to talk with some of your legislators. At 1 o'clock, the House will be on the floor and we'll hear a joint resolution designating today as Tourism Economy Day. And then later this afternoon, a fan favorite, the Vermont Specialty Foods Group Association is hosting their popular tasting reception. And I was in the cloakroom this morning and heard somebody saying, oh, we've got Tourism Day and Vermont Specialty Foods. So it is a favorite for many. And I hope that legislators will invite your colleagues to join us in the cafeteria from 4 to 6 this afternoon. So hope to see you at one or all of these events later today. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. We'll see you at 4 for lunch or sometime soon. Thank you for all you do.